I'm DicQie Fuller-Looney, sometimes known as Dr. DicQie, which is a whole lot easier to say for me as well. I wanted to give you some background on the enzymes before I actually take each product individually. I think that everybody needs to know a little bit about the beginning of enzymes here in the United States. There actually weren't any enzymes in the United States until the 1980s. And the animal enzymes weren't allowed in the United States. So the only enzymes, when I finally located some, was Dr. Howell's. And it was very low dosages because Dr. Howell didn't have like a research group, but he had a great story, and he was using it in his own hospital where he fed people, pretty much vegetarian foods. And he created his product to fit that. And then I came along and wanted the enzymes for personal use for my child. And that's when I discovered Dr. Howell's company. Now, just to make a real story short, Dr. Howell's company hired me and another gentleman to teach enzymes to doctors because there weren't any enzymes sold to doctors in the 1980s. And I want you to know, as far as transformation's background, after teaching for 5 years, a little bit more than that, for Dr. Howell's company, I ended up wanting to go back into practice. But I had to have different enzymes than they had created from Dr. Howell's company into a line that NEC sold. And it was just all numbers. If you wanted to take, say, some amylase, you take number 3. And so that got a little bit confusing because they had like 23 numbers. But I remember teaching all those numbers. Now, why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you that transformation has a very unusual background. Number one, we were the first company to buy enzymes to have made in my distinct formulas for the first time without fillers, which meant that the manufacturer had to go out and create a new machine for me because you could not use enzymes unless you had fillers. They're very, very flighty and they go all over the place. And so to make them stable, they were using fillers, and to make them feel faster in the capsule, they had to use fillers. And so here I come along and I ask a big favor, and I just wanted to use it for my company, which was called Transformation. It was a clinic at first. I only came out with 8 products. Why is that? Because I found that people didn't need all the many products that we had, but then some people needed combinations a little differently than others. But I made them very, very simple. And by the way, those are our first products, and they're still in the line with Transformation today. They all end with the word zyme. That was the mother enzymes that we had for Transformation that began in 1991. We were also the first company to use probiotics because no one was actually had a company that was selling to doctors or the public that was using probiotics. And then an MLM company came out a little bit after that. But I want you to have a basic background of Transformation. Transformation was the first company to come out to sell product different than the ones that NEC had for their line and Dr. Howell. And we were completely without fillers, making us very different from the other 2 lines. We maintain that today, and thankfully, even though they're not always my enzymes, many people followed it and decided they didn't want fillers in their products either. But I want to talk about the zyme line, the mother line. We'll start there because, when the enzymes first came here to the United States, the strongest protease they had on the market was 1600 HUT. And now Transformation, of course, has a much larger coverage. And what does HUT mean? What does any of these words mean? It means that they're measured in certain ways. But what you need to know is whatever that number is means it works that many times in your system before it's used up. Now, how can it be used up? Well, you can never take too many enzymes, and enzymes are all amino acids. That means that they're used then to make more metabolic enzymes for your body. So when you think about transformation enzymes, you're talking about not metabolic enzymes, but you're talking about supplemental digestive enzymes. And there is a difference. One, your body makes it on call if it can. And two, you can take as much as needed, and you can never take too many with the supplemental. Now that we've got that settled, let's talk about the first product that I created for Digest. That was Digeszyme. I wanted to make it simple for people to understand rather than numbers. So I tried to name it as best as I could what it's for. And did it for quite a while until they could never find anything wrong with transformation. That's really true. So they sometimes make us change our names so that we're not saying that this does a particular thing, but they've never changed Digest, Digeszyme or Digest, because that's a name that can be used by anyone. The difference now is people will put their product name in front of it if they like. I even have some products out there that have used our name, and we've had to, get them to stop, but it gets out there. And so now there's a lot of people using enzymes. My dream was to have enzymes on everybody's table. I should have just said my enzymes on everybody's table. But nevertheless, we still have a very good reputation because the enzymes work. Digeszyme has worked for over 25 years. They've been sold by doctors because transformation, I used them for my patients. And then the doctors found out that I had my own line, and they started begging me to use some of mine. And so that's where Transformation, the company, began. So Transformation, the company, sells to health practitioners. And why do we just say health practitioners? Well, because we had to be able to teach the doctors how to use it. And now the public is taught on, the internet, whether it's right or wrong, good, bad, or ugly. But the fact remains is these Digeszyme can be used from newborn children up to our age. It doesn't matter the age. What matters is the condition of the system. So it's our most simple digestive that's out there. I put in several things that I knew from all those years of teaching the doctors that we needed. For one thing, we needed an amount of protease. And that protease is the protease that digests in the stomach. There's also a protease in there that will digest in the small intestine. That's anything that got by that was a vegetable and has maybe some protein in it, and it will work there. We have amylase. Now, amylase was real big back in the 90s because we didn't know better. Amylase just simply breaks down starch, but we thought it was everything. And I got to tell you, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. But if a person is diabetic, you don't necessarily want to use a whole lot of amylase, an easy way of breaking down starch. We started out with a little bit of sucrase, that's for the sugar, but you don't want to break down natural sugar quickly either. And remember, all of the products from Transformation are natural. They're without fillers. And so Digeszyme, how did we use it for all these people? Well, we have lipase in it to help break down fats. We have, like I said, the amylase. We also have some of the other ingredients to help break down, the starches and the sugars, carbohydrates, if you like. And then the lipase, simple. I also have a little bit of probiotic in there. You go, well, how can the probiotic be alive? Well, it's not. But it's a food for the enzymes, and the enzymes are food for it. And so it can be taken by anyone. And so we say they can take anywhere from 1 to 5 in a meal. The truth is our label talks about 3 in a meal. And then you have to understand that they can take more, very much more if they want to. This is a product that I use personally when I was in the clinic to start people that I wasn't sure exactly all of their conditions. They just came in. We haven't done a large workup, but I would start them. People that say have gallbladder problems, I would start them on the simple Digestive. And so Digestive is the go-to when in doubt. It's for people that are sensitives. And so we simply would take a Digestive capsule, break it open, mix it in just a small amount of sterile tempered water, and use a infant or a medicine, what do they call that? Syringe, to go ahead and put it in the baby's mouth. Now, why don't we put it in the actual milk or whatever the baby's having, is because it begins to digest right there. All enzymes, whether they be metabolic your body makes, if they're supplemental that you get from transformation, they all require water to work and their proper pH they're made for. So this is a general used enzyme that you can use it for anybody. The difference is how much do they need based on how ill they are. The more ill they are, the more digestive enzymes you give them. So you might start at 3 to 5 in a meal, and then if they still don't feel right after the meal, give them some more. It's never too late, because your food sits in your stomach. If it has protein, which most all food does have at some source or another, will sit in your stomach up to 5 hours before it leaves your stomach. That gives the stomach time to get all the enzymes that it can produce from the pancreas and what have you to create an area that all the proteins can be broken down. And so our protease is in there to help lessen the load on the stomach and our other organs from trying to get the right amount of enzymes that's needed. So people don't realize how long food actually sits in the stomach. So when should you take Digestive? I love to do it at the mealtime when I'm thinking of it. But if it's an hour later or half an hour later, it doesn't matter because the food's still in the stomach, unless you just drag water or something like that. So just know Digestive is our go-to product when you don't know what to use.
Could you explain to people, because we do get a lot of questions, people get really concerned when they see that the Lactobacillus acidophilus is grown on milk. Can you explain that in a little bit more detail on why that's, for someone with a milk allergy, they don't necessarily have to be as concerned about that because of the type of protein that's coming from it?
I had a great question just asked by Amy, and she was saying when I go into explanation about the lactobacillus that's in the product. Not all lactobacillus is made from milk. That's one thing you need to know. The other thing you need to know is that when it comes out, it doesn't contain the host. Just like enzymes, say we want to make protease, okay? So we're going to grow in a lab that protease on some kind of a protein base, wheat, say. Now, when that protease is grown on wheat, it doesn't have the host in it. All it does is grow on it and make the proteases to be able to break down wheat. You understand? So it's a protein. And then it's taken out, all the fungi is removed, and all that's left is this liquid action. The same way with probiotics. They can have a host or a substance they can be grown on, but it doesn't contain that host. Once it's removed and becomes what it is. So lactobacillus does not always mean grown on milk. And any lacto doesn't always mean that it contains milk. Hence the word lacto instead of lacta. Do you understand? I know that's simple, but it's easy to remember. So don't be concerned. And what it's in there for is actually just something that I like synergy. I hope you understand what I mean by synergy. When I put enzymes together, I need to know where they'll work, how long they'll work, what part of the body they'll work in, and then I put synergies of different things in the product to make it work even better. You see, your enzymes that we take supplemental by the mouth, they don't require a lot of minerals to work, but some of the minerals that are great for presence for the enzymes when you take in are magnesium, zinc, and some calcium, and not the calcium you're thinking about. And so that lactobacillus is kind of like a subtle, if you like, calcium that will help the enzymes be more than they even are. And that's why our enzymes, as we go on to teach this, you're going to find we don't have to use huge amounts of milligrams of anything because our enzymes break them down, they deliver them to the cell, and then they take the toxins out of the cell. What more can you ask for? So please don't be worried about that. Think of it as a synergy, not as the host of what that might have been grown on. I hope that answers your question.
And it helps with pH balance as well, correct?
It does. It helps with the pH balance because remember everything that's going into Transformation's product has always been adapted to the pH that we know we want it to work in. And I have a background in health science. Yes, I have 3 PhDs, but really the one that really makes the difference for the formulations that I make is because I know where they work in the body and how they're supposed to work. And the synergy which needs to be there to make it work better. Okay?
Thank you.
Now let me look at digest. Okay, so why did we come up with another digestive formula if DigestZyme is the one that's the go-to or the mother product? I still take it today. I'm on it right now. Now I switch back and forth depending on how I'm feeling the food I'm eating, but we needed to come up with a line for our practitioners because the Zyme line was sold to my patients, remember? And the Zyme line is sold to a lot of practitioners' patients. They love it. But the truth is, we needed to come up with a quote, stronger or not having to take so many capsules. When I first had my cancer, when I started to realize that enzymes would make a difference for me, you see, I had cancer 3 times, same cancer, just traveled around, they do. And when I finally found out that it was in my colon, I thought, this is digestive. Well, now I know they were all digestive. But I went ahead and started taking enzymes. Well, the strongest enzymes I could find, remember, Dr. Howell's, and then, of course, the ones that we made from Dr. Howell's. And we found out that I had to take 78 or more a day through the day to get all the proteases I need to help me fight back and for my immune system. And so with that in mind came the TPP line, Transformation Professional Protocol line. And this means it's going to be stronger, the capsule's going to be larger, because after all, the smaller the capsule, then the more dense the product, the bigger the capsule, then it's going to contain more product. So don't get worried about capsule size. As we find things that are very dense, that we don't have to put in a bigger capsule, we always do that if we can. Just we're thinking about, the person that's going to have to be swallowing these capsules. Big thing for me after all that. So we came up with TPP Digest. Now, I want you to understand, in the DigestZyme, if you look, it's very simple. We have things for carbohydrates, we have things for fats, we have things for protein, and then we have something as a synergy to make the pH and everything work. Now listen to these ingredients as we go through it. I'm going to actually read from it and tell you what it's about. So we have a protease blend. Now why do I say a protease blend? Because this product has a protease that works in the stomach, the small intestine, all before the digestion is over, and just a little bit more that works in the blood. Why would I do that? Why not? Think about it. If you want to make sure that you're getting all you can from protein, this is the answer. Do you know the most important thing that the body has to do is handle its proteins? It builds muscle, tissue, bone. It's for our brain. It's for everything. So very important. So I have a blend. So I've got proteases. Excuse me.
Maybe eat some more.
Probably.
Okay. You keep going. I'll be right.
I have proteases, but I have a peptidase in this product. Now, why would we put a peptidase in a product? Well, because so many people have a problem getting the signal to release peptidase for digestion in the stomach. I like to say that if protease is in the product and peptidase is in the product, then you don't need hydrochloric acid because it's a signal system. And as these come and they become more acid, then the hydrochloric acid is made and got the signal, and then the stomach becomes very able and fluent to be able to break down those proteins correctly without taking a real long time. Have you ever heard somebody say, I feel like food's still in my stomach? It probably is. Remember, for the healthiest person, if they ate just regular, typical Western food, chicken, listen, it doesn't matter if it's chicken, if it's beef, if it's, well, I don't do pork, but it doesn't matter because you still have to break it down. And don't think that some proteins are easier to break down than others. The only ones that are easier might be man-made, but when they come from the flesh of an animal, it's going to take a long time to break down. So when you say, I feel like it's still in my stomach, it probably is. So that's why this blend is here. Now, lipase. I have a lipase in here that is so good that, in truth, you do not have to have a bladder. A lot of people have had their bladders out before they get here, which is sad, but now their liver's got to do all the work, right? It's got to be able to make, lipase or bile right on time for your digestion. So as the food comes out of the stomach, it's going to go into the bolus, which is going to then be able to break down some fats if you're healthy. Well, this particular lipase breaks down whether you have a gallbladder or not. Very important to some people. It certainly was to me. We do have our amylase there, but it's not near as strong as what most people will use amylase for. And why would we have alpha galactose? Well, that's another one that breaks down carbohydrates. And if you want, you can go on line, I think it is, and also in my book that I wrote, and you can also ask for transformation. But we have a list of all the different enzymes where their pH is the best. There's always this kind of like a wave where it becomes at the top, it's the strongest there, and then it drops down again. So you can say this enzyme works from this pH to this pH, but its best is at this pH. We have all of that for you, all the graphs, if you want to see it. I just think that might be a little bit of time loss to talk about the graphs, but we can do that at some other time. We have phytase. Now, why would we have phytase? Our body doesn't make it. So you say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, but we can't break down the pectin. We can't break down the covering of the apple. It goes through the body and comes out through the fecal. But we do this to make sure you get everything, because sometimes in fruit, as in apple, the most important part is the skin. And how many people take the skin off, So we want to make sure they get everything. Glucoamylase is another one that breaks down carbohydrates. So when you see these ACEs, that's always an enzyme. And these enzymes are the ones for carbohydrates. Then you have the lactase. We know about lactase because some people have lactose problems. And so I put that in here as well. We do have lactase, by the way, in Digestive. And we will have it here because there's a lot of people that have lactose problems. Now, why would we put cellulase? Nobody makes it. That's why we put it. So people say, eat roughage. and then they feel pretty rough. They feel really bad. And that is because they don't make the enzyme to break it down, and it's supposed to go right through our body and just kind of roll things out through the fecal matter, except many times it grabs onto good things like the nutrients and takes it right out with it. So that's in there. We have if they're all ACEs, you see hemicellulase, that's a different kind of a cellulase, or it breaks down as cellulose that comes in many forms. And you want this. A lot of people have allergies to food now, and we can't get enough enzymes anymore. But this is like a real rounded product for people that have inflammation in their digestive tract, allergies. But some people have to build up to that. And so that's why sometimes we say start with Digestive when in doubt, and then when everything goes really well, after 21 days, we can move them on up, because the body works in 21-day increments. So this is a great product. And if you'll notice, one capsule has everything that it says here. So you can take, and people just take one capsule, but I have to tell you, the older you are, you need more capsules. The more problems you have, you need more capsules. So as I teach the 7 stages of disease, you're going to hear when you need to take more of the enzymes and how much based on the conditions you have. But this is the good doctor practitioner line that covers all angles. And that's TPP Digest.
Okay, I have a question for you, Dr. DicQie. So I know that the Digest, it's the more powerful version of Digestive.
Yes.
What made you decide, instead of just upping the amount of enzymes that were already in Digestive, to add these other ones in?
Because, as I think you know this as well, and you probably observed it, our people are getting sicker. Our babies have adult diseases. It's just amazing. They put newborns on things like Nexium and things like that. It's so sad. And I'm not going to go into teaching on the babies right now, but I need to tell you that so many people come into this world with an inability to make the proper enzymes on call. And I'll tell you that right now. And so the reason why this has all the added ones, they're the ones that don't make enough digestive enzymes on call. You say on call, what is that? It's your DNA. Your DNA decides when you get enzymes and when you don't. They turn the enzymes on, they turn the enzymes off. As we're in mother's tummy, as a fetus, we have 9th to 12th week, we have the propensity, listen to the word, propensity, to make digestive enzymes, and hear this, for the rest of the life of that child. Now, its own DNA decides when to turn it on or off, and it can be that child has problems and they can't get it turned on. The older you become, the less enzymes that you make, just by the fact of getting the call, having enough to produce. So all those are reasons to take enzymes. Those are the reasons to take this product, because there are so many foods out there that aren't real foods. GMOs, the body doesn't know what it is. It immediately makes an allergy. You have a response, and your blood and your if you want to talk, your digestive system and your brain are all attached. And so we end up having problems all down through the system. This is the product to help us with that. This is the product that you can start on with someone that really, really needs something strong. You'll know if it's going to work for them or not. You give them enough to meet their need. If you don't give them enough, they might seem like it's not doing well. But listen, it's very simple. You're a practitioner. Give them one to start and ask them how they're doing. If they still have a bit of a complaint, tell them to take 2. I always tell people to take the proper digestive enzymes. And I'm rushing a little ahead here. The proper proteases and the proper probiotics, and then look to see what's left. If we take them in the right amounts, usually the reason they came in the office is pretty much gone. And so I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind. So how many? Depends on how sick they are. Okay?
And maybe you could reiterate too that you can never take too many, because we have a lot of practitioners that get concerned or they get worried about if we start them on 2 digestive and the patient or 2 a digest and they react to it.
Thank you for the question. Yes, Amy knows that if you're in the medical field, that you're going to be worried that if you're taking too many enzymes, you'll stop making your own. Well, that isn't quite the same as somebody has a thyroid problem and you give them too much thyroxine and then the thyroid stops making it. The digestive enzymes are completely different from the hormones and all the other things that you're talking about. We're talking about digestive enzymes that go to work within seconds as the capsule breaks down with the presence of water, and it goes to work immediately. Now, enzymes will go to work immediately, but they also can be held until it gets to the pH they're good for. So we don't waste our carbohydrate enzymes trying to break down in the stomach. They'll just be dormant until they get to the stomach. I mean, the small intestine or large intestine, because that's a different pH. I'm sorry, let me say that again. If you take enzymes, they'll break down within a few seconds if you drink enough water, because it takes water to activate the enzymes. The first enzymes activated will be proteases, because that's the first place your food goes. Stomach, I don't care what you ate. It's going to go to the stomach. Then your stomach has got to discern how many proteins are there, and they'll be there as long as it takes to break those proteins down. Then it moves on into the other system, and on it goes, and they all have different pHs that they work in. So this is a product designed for people that are ill, that aren't making the right amount of enzymes and getting the calls that they need to get. So this is a product that takes care of that. I don't know if I answered the question, did I?
Well, so let's say that they start a patient
on
digest.
That's right. So they're worried.
Or diarrhea.
Right. The concern is enzymes. If you take enzymes that you don't need, or if you take enzymes and too many enzymes, that you'll stop making your own metabolic enzymes. That isn't how the body works. You either make digestive enzymes that were done back in the time you were a fetus, and you have a call to make them, or you don't. And the sicker you are, the less call for digestive enzymes. So the more need that you have for digestive enzymes. That's why we did this product. Your digestive system has a lot to do with your hormones. Your digestive system has everything to do with your brain. You know, we don't know what's first. We say that the first brain is in the brain, the second brain is in the stomach, and now they're looking at the third brain being the heart. But all of them work together in sync if things are proper. If they're not proper, the first place to go wrong is digestive system. And it will have everything to do with how you're feeling, how you're thinking, your mood. So they aren't the same as medicine, because digestive enzymes are if you want to say they're bio-adjusted to your own enzymes, because they're formulated to do that, and they digest food. Now, we have enzymes that work in the blood. I'm just now talking about digesting food, the call to have it. If you take enzymes, will your body stop making enzymes? No. Your body will make enzymes as long as it can. In fact, when we die, enzymes break us down. But we're talking digestive enzymes that we always don't get the call, or we may not be able to make enough to meet the need. Years ago, they made fun of me. They said, "Why are you making such a big deal about digestion?" And I would say, because truly, everything we have, every disease we have, is 95% because of what we eat. Now, you say, "I don't agree with that." Well, if you come into this world with a disease, then that's a little bit of a different thing. But if you're an adult and you're now making yourself have diabetes and some of the other things that are there, or even our children, then that means if we created it, guys, we can discreate it. That's the beauty of enzymes. So this is one of the top products for people that have conditions. Unless they are so toxic, they have to start with the Zymeline to keep from being detoxifying too fast. You say, well, yeah, what about people detoxifying? When people said to me, I'm in detoxification, I go, I am so sorry. I didn't give you enough enzymes. If I had given you enough enzymes, you would never know it. You would feel better for it. And so that's another reason why you up them. So I want you to know this isn't the same as medicine. So you medically trained people, which I was as well, this is not something that it'll stop you from making yours if you take enough. We never can get enough enzymes. Remember, they're all amino acids. Even your metabolic enzymes can be turned into another enzyme. We can never have too many enzymes. Now you're going to wonder, okay, so if digest is the go-to to start out, or when in doubt, take it. Digest, TPP Digest is the one for practitioners, for people that have conditions and what have you. Then why in the world did you create another digestive product called TPP Carbo G? Well, Carbo G has come along because of so many ingredients that are built in our food. Not the man-made, the ones that are grown. We know we have GMOs, but we have other things as well. And there are many people today that have never had real food. See, we've been having GMOs in our food for 35 years, 40? So some of you have never really had real food unless you were raised on a farm and it was organic, things like that. And so remember, once again, enzymes break down real food. We'll talk about what the foods that aren't real food, what happens with them. They load up a toxic load on your system. Remember, the most important thing is how your body handles proteins, how it gets nutrients to the cell, and how the cell gets cleaned out. So I want you to remember there's a step process. So this TPP Carbo came in, Carbo G, because everybody and their dog started reading about, all the problems that they might have with complex carbohydrates or grains and, all the gluten intolerance. Well, there's gluten intolerance. That means intolerance is more of a, stronger than a sensitivity, okay? So many people can have gluten sensitivities and they may not have gluten intolerance. But when you get off of gluten and you're feeling better, then that's usually a sign. But for those that know that they are gluten intolerant, they've been tested, the practitioner feels very comfortable that they have, this is the product. And why this one? Well, I have a lot of the same things that are in digest, but you're going to see that this is going to have a little bit different blend of proteases. Why? Because these proteases got to work differently. So they're going to work in the stomach, but boy, they've got to work in the small intestine. And they need to also begin to work in the blood. You said, oh my goodness, that's a big thing. It is. That's why you need to know your formulators. That's why you need to know their background. People see something and then they make one and put a different name on it, say they formulated it, and have no idea what's in it. I don't know how many of you understand salesmen make a lot of the products. They just see something that's hot and they say, why not? So this is a product that when it came out, it was like one of its kind. And the reason why it's so different is because not only the enzymes that are in there, but this one has some herbal blends. Why herbs? Remember the synergy again. The synergy. You've got to do some healing. Ginger is a really healing product. Ginger even can be used for other worsened conditions. You have a different bacteria in here. Why would I put a different bacteria? Because this is a bacteria that people that are truly having problems with their complex carbohydrates. This is one they don't make. So they've actually taken a lot of the fecal matter from some of these people. And one of the groups of the probiotics that is not found in that fecal matter is this one. It's Bifidobacterium, I never can say this, like infantis. And so, they say, well, isn't that one for a baby? No, different species have different names, but it doesn't mean they're specific for certain things. So this one is one that they don't make enough of. So if you have gluten intolerances or problems, celiac, this is a good one for autistic children. All the enzymes are good for autistic children. Most of the children, if they're sick today, is because they have an enzyme problem. Even if you look at the diseases, they lack a certain enzyme their body doesn't make. So when it's children, you can't give them enough enzymes if they've got a real problem. Any food sensitivity, any digestive problem. So some people feel really good taking this. One of the things that they did find out is they have a product called 500 DPP-4, which is specifically for gluten and casein digestion. It has 10 carbohydrates in there to be able to break down certain foods. So, I put 240 million CFU of the probiotic in there because, once again, people don't make it that really do have this problem. Do some people have the problem and think they do, but they really don't? Sometimes when you start giving them digestive enzymes, they find out it was just they weren't being able to digest anything. Am I saying it's not true? No, I'm not. But I'm saying that they have put so many things and so many chemicals in our foods as it's grown that it's getting really spreading to different plants, and we're having more problems all the time. This is a product that is specifically for those people who feel that they have gluten intolerance. And so it's a beautiful product. It really is. I have all the enzymes in there. I have all the different types of proteases to work all through the digestive tract, even into the blood, because I want to clean up some of the mess afterwards. So we'll talk about systemic enzymes a little bit later when we get to the proteases. But I want you to know that these carbohydrate digestion enzymes are very important, especially to people if they're vegetarians. They really want to get the best of food, but they have to eat enough protein. So when they get their protein, they have to eat different types of the vegetables, and there is where some of the problems come in. So, when you think about vegetarians, this might be a beautiful product for them. They might just really love this product. I know we have many that do. And so, I'm going to just kind of stop it here. I know that we have another Digeszyme we have for children, but for right now, I want us to focus, if we could, on those specific enzymes. Now you say, well, if the pills, what do children do? They chew them up. I still have adults today that chew up their pills, and because it's just easier. I had one of my grandchildren say, Grandma, I took a whole bottle of Digeszyme. And, and I didn't rush her out to the doctor. I didn't rush her out anywhere. I just said, you're lucky you have a grandma in the business, because obviously she didn't need a whole bottle. But does that mean that wasn't good for her? Who can say? Remember, all enzymes become metabolic enzymes as the body goes to use any excess that's over, which we rarely have in excess. But they are not something that you have to worry about, that you've got to go in and see somebody about them doing damage. It doesn't work that way. And so if I could ever tell you, well, I've been in the business a long time, and I will tell you I've been 40 years, without my cancer, and I've worked 45 years with enzymes. So I can tell you truthfully that I have had no problems or people calling me. When they do, we get on it right away. We try to find out what is it, and is it something we put in, or is it something the manufacturer substituted? So we always stay on top of it. So really, I love those that are in capsules. Now, we do have a digestive powder, and we do have a chewable, and I would like to cover that at another time, if I could. So I hope that I've answered all your questions. Do you think I have, Amy?
Yeah, I just have one. So why did you decide to go so low on lipase with Carbo G?
Oh, with Carbo G? Well, let me look at it again. I don't always keep these in my head. I'm 75. Give me a break. Okay, let's see. The lipase that I have in here is 340 FIP. Well, that's because that's that one that you don't have to have a whole bunch. You don't have to have a bladder. It's made on time, and it's also to help for the liver. When you think about the liver, you have to understand that a lot of people have fatty liver, but they created it. They didn't come into this world with it. And the liver does 500 different things every second. I don't know if you realize that, but it does. And yet, when we eat, the liver's got to stop everything and make sure that the food can be digested. It just throws everything off. So I'm really serious about the different lipases I use, because you need to understand that fat isn't digested like we think. We know that we digest, more proteins in the stomach. We digest some proteins in the small intestine that are from vegetables and things. We know that we digest carbohydrates in the small intestine. We know that. But fats, guys, is a little different. Fats go through your lymphatic system. It does not go through your digestive system like you think. It gets there. It gets blended with the bile. It makes triglycerides, and then it goes through your lymphatic system. There is no pump to make it go quickly to the liver. It goes slowly because there is no pump. It just goes slowly as triglycerides into the liver through the blood. That's why we can look at Darkfield and see that someone just ate and they're still digesting because it's full of triglycerides. So fats are done differently. So some people will use lots of lipase thinking to wow the patient or the customer or the practitioner, when in truth it's the type of lipase, how it breaks down, how quickly it gets to the liver. And so this particular one is one that's specific to get to the liver a little faster than most. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. All right, we'll take a break.
Yeah. I just want to point out something because Amy asked another question. There's been a lot of stuff on the internet and a lot of people who are marketers, but they're not practitioners. And they're saying that if you take lipase, it'll break down fat like your body fat. Well, our body doesn't work that way. I wished, but it doesn't work that way. The lipase that we have, that are digestive enzyme lipase, breaks fat down so that you can make sex hormones from it. And all the other things that we need that fat in the cell for. Every cell in our body has an outer layer of lipids. Very important. We don't take lipase, and then just melt fat. You have to stop eating, and you've got to control things. But you don't want to take man-made fat because that creates a problem where you have diarrhea, right? And you don't want to take fat that's produced to do things that is that's man-made just to do some, so they can hype it. We eat fat because it's healthy for us. We have to have a certain amount of fat for us to be able to thrive. And that is what lipase breaks down. Now, triglycerides are only going to be high or low depending on the foods you eat. And so if you eat a lot of fatty foods, your triglycerides go up, but it doesn't melt your fat. It doesn't work that way. It's actually the opposite. So, try to become very, logical and say, does the body really do this? And most of the time, probably 80 to 90% of the time, what you read, the body isn't capable of doing. Maybe even higher than that. But I'm here to tell you, most disease, 95% of all disease, is started through poor nutrition and your digestive tract. Now, that should be more exciting and trying to burn off a little bit of fat. I used to have a pound of fat I could show you. Someone stole it. I have a 5 pound of fat. When we get into lipase, I'll bring it in and let you see. People say, I lost 5 pounds of fat last night. It's like, oh, someone carved you open? You know, you just don't do that. So I want you to understand the lipases I'm talking about is not a weight loss. It's a healthy return for your body.